Welcome to the Unity Consciousness event, where we are having heart and soul led conversations to uplift and empower our awakening. Through the series of these conversations, we're focusing on cultivating deep presence and embodying pure love. Hi, I'm Kristen Bielecki, your host. I'm in Soul Embodiment Guide, and I am passionate about us knowing ourselves and transforming all that is imbalanced within our bodies, our hearts, our minds to lead a heart and soul led life. And I'm excited today to be here with my dear friend, Helena Reilly. Thank you, Helena, for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's a
Yeah.
wonderful experience to always to be with you, Kristen.
Thank you. Yes. I'll introduce Helena. Not only is she fun and vibrant and very knowledgeable, I really appreciate Helena's intuitive gifts and her presence, and I really look forward to the conversation we're going to have today. But Helena is a renowned therapist, award-winning author, and co-founder of Quantum Sound Therapy. Her pioneering work in sound frequencies and immersive quantum scalar energy vortex technology has led to lasting transformations and reduces stress for thousands globally. And I can attest to that myself for experiencing it. So thank you, Helena. And I'd like to begin with a short grounding, presencing, heart-centered and intention meditation to support all of us in being present in this moment. So all of you that are here with us in this moment, just inviting you, if you can, to close your eyes and take a moment. And even if you can't close your eyes, just taking a deep breath into the body. Taking a real deep breath into the body, welcoming yourself here to this moment. Welcoming yourself here to your body. Welcoming yourself here to all that you may feel, hear, receive. And as you're breathing into your body and you're welcoming yourself here, just allowing each breath to let your body relax, and any way that you're connected to any other energies, just to ask any cords to release from your body, from your energy body, to go to where they need to go, and calling back your energy to yourself, to your body, from anywhere that it's been in its highest form. And feeling your feet, feeling where you're standing or sitting or being, feeling the temperature of the air on your skin. Taking a deep breath through your heart, welcoming the pure love of life, of yourself here into through your heart and through your body and your soul, welcoming the highest intelligence that you are to be present for you to experience the wholeness of yourself in this moment. Having gratitude for being here. We're grateful for you, and we're grateful for each other, grateful for this space of all of us unifying in this moment. And Helena, if you wish to, just welcome you to speak an intention into this space for all of us.
Actually, interesting. Thank you. That was really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being guided to activate the temporal lobes, which is interesting. So let's just take a moment to activate the temporal lobes. You might experience like an expansion or a feeling that your consciousness needs to expand. So let's just put some attention into the third eye and the crown, but specifically the temporal lobes. All right, interesting. So I guess we're going to talk about brainwave harmonization, which is the gateway to awakening your purpose, your personal power, your empowerment, and dissolving the karmic imprints that have sadly been deeply imprinted into the nervous system of humanity. And at this time, it's our great joy and pleasure to get to decode, recode, and reset the imprints that have been restricting us from becoming fully empowered humans. So let's get started on that in this conversation with the intention that we are finding our pathway, the neural pathway to our purpose and our power today, in the present moment. Purpose, power, presence.
Purpose, power, and presence, the intention of this field. And if you wish to, who of those that are listening and watching with us, to create an intention for yourself to fully receive what we'll be bringing through with purpose, power, presence, the pathway into the self.
And there's a tangible ability that humans have that was neglected and never taught, sadly. If they taught this in elementary school, would be very different humans. But I want to teach to the connection process to the quantum field.
Yes.
And I feel, and because it is the field of unlimited potential, and I didn't know I'd be doing this today, but I would like everyone to take a few deep breaths into, we've just done a meditation, but into the Buddha belly, expanding the solar plexus, awakening the heart, dealing with the throat chakra, the third eye, but now exhaling through the crown, pulling in the energy. I want you to take your hands and begin to feel the tangible essence and presence of the field of energy. So this field of energy is the quantum field. Without knowing it, like fish in water, we're swimming in a field and we don't know its composition. That's the problem. So that we can, as humans, things can be delivered to us, programs, thoughts, emotions, through this subtle field of energy. And we need to learn to become more aware of what's being transmitted and placed into us, and also what we need to release and let go of. So let's just take this moment to feel the purity that we actually can embrace. Okay, and so when you center on this field, it is the field of raw potential. It's a field of energy that once you learn to connect and practice this connection to the field, you actually can automatically alter your brain waves, which is where you're creating from. Also be more conscious of the emotions that may be swimming in the field with you and allowing you to clear. And I'm going to show you how to push that out. So I've learned in today's world, there are so many discordant energies in the field that a simple way, and as you know, we're in the field of vibrational medicine, but in a simple way, if you can feel this field, and your hands won't want to fully connect, but then if you notice discordance, or if you notice something is interfering with your presence in this moment, turn your hands and push it out of your field. And this allows you a sense of, this brings you automatically into the present moment, also this movement. So if you clear, this is kind of becoming like a channel dance, and then you bring in the presence. That's your divine presence. So clear the field, bring in your divine presence. And now you're going to notice a shift. Do you notice a shift in your frequency?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my point here is that when we're walking through life as crusaders, as warriors, which I believe we're becoming right now, our awareness of what's coming at us in the field, and it is a measurable frequency, but since humanity did not go down the road of vibration, it went down the road of the particle versus the wave. We didn't teach ourselves and our communities to sense what is in the field. And this is, in my opinion, resulting in a disconnection from our own selves. So our programming that went on for 7 years of life, roughly 61,320 hours from the third trimester to the 7th year of life, starts to run the show. And what happens is these hooks are coming in from multiple levels, whether it's your society, the news, your government, your parents, your spouse, your dog, your child. So you're walking around in this sovereign field, but everybody is playing into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we never learned that it's our job to negotiate and walk in presence, negotiate in and out what it is that you need to take from that field. Now, the field has no scarcity. The field is abundant. The field has unlimited power and prosperity. We just didn't learn how to navigate it, which is what I'm here for now, is to navigate humanity's connection to something much greater than the third dimension, to navigate the connection to an expanded reality so that we can re-empower ourselves instead of being unconsciously disempowered by the program and then the program running in the field. So we can re-empower. And I do want to put out a message, because I just figured this out recently, like yesterday, that one of the ways that they have disempowered the feminine, because we know that it's the divine, the awakening of the divine feminine, the divine feminization, is to attack the womb chakra. Now this is going to be a big part of my teaching going forward, that this is the knowledge acquired by very few. Actually, I was taught by a recognized Maha avatar that women carry the womb chakra and men do not have the womb chakra. Nothing personal. Women do have to birth the children, but what has happened is that there has become a chronic, in many ways, it's an attack on the womb chakra. The sexual abuse, the sexual imprisonment, the sex trafficking, or just sexual exploitation of humans. And what happens when the womb chakra is attacked is it's going to take, it's a form of disembodiment in a sense, because when that's attacked, the essence of your power and your femininity is being attacked, and it takes you out of the present moment. You actually begin to disassociate. Yeah. Which is one of the problems, big problem on earth in terms of women taking back their power. So we are currently using frequency to distill those traumas, to remove those traumas from the field, not only from the individuals, but from the field that encompasses all of us.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I really appreciate all of this that you're bringing through, this presence, being in the present moment and leading us through this beautiful knowing of how to connect to our energy body, to how to feel the energy of ourselves so that we can consciously connect into what is affecting us in this energy. And I think it is a profound process that we can teach our children or teach ourselves right now, just to go, okay. And I love that, because that, especially with qigong or different tai chi or yoga or just simply doing that practice, we do this a lot. We connect this way a lot, with the energy and recognizing wow, we're kind of gathering up the pure energy of our bodies and bringing it down and in, and then letting all of that pure energy really flow through the physical body and the energy body too. Yes, take anything out. And I think that's a very powerful way to feel that. And even in the hands, when we do that, when you had us do that in the beginning, it's like so, if we call it chi, or if we call it, pure energy, or whatever we call it, it's like, wow, having that tangible experience of feeling our energy, our magnetism, our electrical magnetic field, having that awareness is superb. And I actually just led a group a group to teach this the other day. So I love how you are bringing this in, and I feel like it's going to be more and more important the more it is that we are receiving these frequencies, that we get to learn how to use our own energy to work with our own bodies and recognize that energy. And the womb space, it really hits home with me when, when you talk about that, because I know that I had some form of sexual trauma as a child, but I remember it happening more in my dreams and more on the etheric level than in the physical level. And if it happened on the physical level, I'm still not remembering it. But I
Yes.
do know that those of us that came in with a lot of power as women, and even men in the way that they've been treated sexually themselves, is that we were targeted sometimes on a more energetic level if we didn't have the physical experience of sexual trauma, so that our womb space, our creative power, our energy was subdued. And I felt very disassociated for a big portion of my life. And that's why it became a passion for me to learn how to become embodied, to really be in the body, to connect into that and recognize our energy in the body. And so I am just so grateful for what you're receiving and the work you want to share, that what wisdom you want to share in the world with that, because it's so crucial right now for us to feel to feel the freedom to liberate that creative power and that power of our womb that is, woo, as women of us who are like more in our bodies, and the power that's there, and the creativity, and the ability to be in our intuition and our connection of ourselves that way, is this is what's changing the world, right now.
In addition, we need to teach how to use our body to read the field.
Mhm.
So I think that was the biggest disconnect with humanity.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
instead of, and that was the way they transferred authority externally.
Yep.
If you, instead of like, so I was just thinking about this, like, okay, I'm approaching a grocery store.
Mhm.
Now, if I use this body to if I approach it more, this is information. The grocery store is information. I need certain information and certain nutrients. And if
Yeah.
I approach it like that, but I may also encounter other things there. So
Mhm.
it is a different way. And I guess some people would call that mindfulness or conscious awareness, but it's actually using the chakras to read the energy of the field, because that will enhance your, because it's either going to enhance your evolution and your empowerment or pull you back. You
Exactly.
have to always assess that. What am I stepping into?
Mhm.
And what do I need to withdraw from? And I think one of the things I did want to point out is that in the ascension community and language,
Mhm.
there's, we all know that I was trained as a shrink. So, but in the ascension community and language, there is a tendency to teach what looks a little like dissociation, meaning we leave the body to ascend, but instead we
Mhm.
actually need the body to ascend.
Yeah.
We're here to experience ascension in the body. And since I just lost my partner, I learned that from him
Mhm.
posthumously, that they wanted to teach me the ascension process in the physicality, which is more rare and a little more challenging, actually. But
Yeah.
it's all about presence in the moment.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that, because that's what I was shown as well, and support as well in the field. Is this is not a let's leave the body and go to another light form or go to another dimension. It's going, no, we are all the dimensions. We are all here as the light body in the body. The body is the light body, as well as our energy, right? And so this is a one living consciousness unit of energy, and this body is so intelligent with the light. And what we're doing is remembering that, learning that, because that was the original template, and that what you're speaking to is so powerful, that external authority, because we've given so much of our power to, external sources. We're learning to bring that back and be present right here. Notice who we are, notice what we're feeling, notice what's happening, and notice how we're engaging with just that, the information that we're receiving from the external experiences of the people or the locations or the job or whatever it is, and learning how to meet that, because it's all an energy body and we're all exchanging information. So it's like, how do we meet that and choose from within, right? Choose from within in this body how we're going to engage. And that's such a deep, powerful practice, because it takes a lot of effort to stay in our bodies, to stay in our centers at first, as we're learning, because we automatically, react and kind of can leave our body instead of going, oh, we're right here. We're right now. What's here for me? How do I want to be? So it's engaging just those consistent conversations with ourselves, even to be like, okay, what am I receiving? What am I feeling? How am I being? Where am I? And it's that real beautiful space. It's that real beautiful space of tending to ourselves first rather than tending to the external first.
That's the key. And also finding inside of each of us so here's the secret, that the abundance, you can't access the abundance if you're not in the body. The secret that you need to access through being here, not through ascending out of here. So it creates this conflict, and it's interesting because I didn't know this is what we'd be talking about, but what I'm observing is because of somewhere the falsification of the teachings, which I think is that ascension means we leave the body, instead of grasping that we embody the body in order to receive the gifts of the body. And there are so many gifts. Yes. Like the analogy of, people waiting to claim their gifts. There's like some story in the spiritual kingdom about, there's all these gifts that they're waiting for us to claim. And in this time, I don't know that I really want to say this, but it is coming through that one of the issues is that people feel this sense of dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is that deep inside, we know we haven't created to our full potential.
Yeah.
And when we see it on the screen that someone else is, that's a mirror. That's what is disturbing the essence. And I was just speaking to a university professor, and she was saying how she was really telling me how she's joining us because she resonates with our message, because she's seeing that the university students are so lost. And the reason they're lost is that this connection that Kristen and I are trying to put words to, which I know we're trying to do, because this is what she and I practice, right? We're giving you the example. They're so lost because they're not connecting. So they're looking at this glass and they're studying the chemistry of the glass and the chemistry of what is water, it's H2O, but they're not connecting into their internal essence. I was going to say eternal essence. Therein lies the problem. The other thing that I've become very aware of, and this was actually disappointing to me yesterday, that some of these patterns, it's like their essence. It's like thousands of years ago. And what's behind these patterns are customs that if you understood them, you would want to burn them immediately. But they're still operating in the reality. And when I saw it yesterday, I was like, oh my God, if I can't transform people's lives, you know, it's like if we can't get rid of this essence of these patterns that are entrenched into the field,
Mhm.
that's the challenge.
Yeah. And I think we're in a massive shift of that currently right now as we speak, because I know as we speak right now and we're bringing this forward and holding the field for every one of you that are listening and in the space with us, to really just sink into the body, to really let that, because so much is dissolving right now. And it may feel disorienting, it may feel uncomfortable because of that, because of the seeking that we've done to reach out into a world that never really could satisfy our sense of being, our truth, and now as all of that's dissolving, I also see that grieving of what we haven't done, or what is leaving. And I feel that, like, that essence of what you're saying of these patterns is really up right now, right? And so we have the profound opportunity to say, okay, I see you, I know that you've been here, and I no longer, you know permit you to be in my field, my DNA, my body, my brain, my chemistry, my physiology, all of that. Because what are we bringing in now? We're bringing in that truth of our soul into the body to reform all of this cellular level experience in such a beautiful way, so that, I feel, that satisfaction or that fulfillment. Everyone's been reaching for purpose or meaningfulness, or fulfillment of something, and like you say, the most of the people are lost because we're not taught that we in our of ourselves can be fulfilling just by knowing ourselves. And everything's been external. You got to do this, you got to do that, learn this, go to school, do this. And it's just like, what's your passion? And I feel like that's why I was really inspired to keep my son home from school, from those, things, to be like, who are you? Like, what's your passion? What do you want to experience? What are you feeling? What do you want to engage with? What lights you up? And focus on that, because then we can really be in the body and go, because then it becomes natural to just be passionate about what we're and follow what we say, our bliss.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's, I think, for you, Helen, and what you're doing with your sound frequencies and your technologies and your wisdom that you're bringing forth, and the people you're connecting with, is saying, yes, let's transform all of this program that we've had, that our fulfillment is external, and bring it back home to ourselves and know ourselves, and let ourselves come into these brainwave patterns, come into these frequencies of our bodies that just are naturally alive, naturally bring about that experience of really being alive in the body.
Absolutely. And one of the most mysterious aspects of Earth is that they don't teach humans how to use this real estate, the field of your brain, because this is actually a chemical factory.
Yeah.
They don't teach us how to do that. So and because we're programmed externally, so it's quite a mystery in a sense. But when you look at it, the ideology of that is, it is so that very few would maintain power. And so it's very important in what some people call awakening, that you start to realize that you awaken. This is an asset. The body's an asset. It's an asset that is being minimally used, poorly understood, and that the difference with frequencies is there's no belief system attached. So there's no thought form, because they're mathematical, they're numbers. So they're able to bypass the defense mechanisms of the ego, which is what you were taught in school. So, but the sound is able to go, it's sort of like a very clever, it can move in between your defenses and your subconscious. And one of the things that does frighten me about humanity is what's stored in the subconscious
Mhm.
is so unknown with most people.
Mhm.
And so I do want to say that this is a process that we're talking about, and that it's why you would work with something like sound frequencies to open you up, but then you would need to work with someone like Kristen to become conscious of what's moving out of your field, to integrate that into a new lifestyle. And this is where it's like a muscle that we never develop. People go to the gym for an hour every day or an hour every other day or whatever. This needs to be our gym, in a sense, where we learn how to integrate our power into creating our lifestyle according to our inner wisdom. And this disconnect and trying to go out of the body actually stops your evolution, actually slows your evolution, because in some ways you're not here in many ways. And we're not that here anyway. We're only 5% of us here anyway.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 5% of us being aware.
Mhm.
And so I do say this, that the step-by-step working through, and I also want to say that I'm hearing right now that in the next 3 years, we're going to be being asked daily what your choice is.
Yeah.
So is your choice to be a light leader, to use your gifts and skills,
Mhm.
or do you want to try to stay in your comfort zone? And those worlds that develop will be quite, depending on your choice, your world will develop and evolve in different ways, and people will fall out of your life and fall into your life.
Yeah.
But it is all about manifesting this presence, that the divine presence as a human being,
Mhm.
and what choice you're making. Next year is 2024, very, very pivotal.
Mhm.
So it's what choice we're making and how we choose to love and who we choose to love and the path we choose to walk. So in many ways, to become a quantum creator, which is sort of my teaching, you begin to become aware that you have brain waves to harmonize that will make you an extremely powerful creator. But if you make that decision, there's a discipline involved. There's a little discipline involved. You have to become aware.
Yes.
You have to walk your talk. Yes.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing is, if you like change, you'll enjoy this. But most humans are programmed to fear change. So I'm a big proponent of, the fight, flight, freeze aspects of the brain we need to move out of. So whenever we go into that, and you are going to go, you are going to get triggered, especially in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But like I had an experience where we needed to take action on the property that we own, and it can trigger a fight, flight, freeze, an adaptive response.
Yes.
But you then have to understand the response and move out of it into the creation, because you cannot create in the lower frequency realms. So
Mhm.
for those interested in moving into empowerment or sovereignty, this is what we master.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you have to master. You have to master the use of your brain waves, and then turn that into your creation and your lifestyle. And that's it. It's so simple.
Yeah. It's so simple, and yet it can be really challenging because, as you were speaking, that fear of the unknown. And I feel that in this process, it's such a beautiful space to be in, right? Once we have honed that capacity to regulate ourselves, right? Or know what does support us in regulating our nerve system and allowing the brain waves to come into those more relaxed states, like the theta brain wave, where, we are able to tap into the conscious and subconscious at the same time and allow all these processes to transmute and transform into, who we really are. And I feel that for those of you who are listening, that, maybe you're farther on down the path and you have learned, more of how to navigate and adapt and adjust when things show up that are challenging. Because I know that when we enter a heightened state, when maybe we're triggered by something that does show up from our subconscious, right? Maybe it's an old pattern, and maybe these patterns keep showing up and keep showing up until we have that capacity to say, okay. And that's that communication I feel that we were talking about in the very beginning that can be really supportive and regulating, is when something does show up that's uncomfortable from our subconscious, that we acknowledge it,
Yes.
that we're
And
just like, "Oh, go ahead."
yes, that we acknowledge what it is. And if we need to seek more information
Yeah.
about the contents in our subconscious. And this is where, it gets very tricky, because these patterns, they leave like a little imprint and they're entrenched,
Yeah.
but they're not really who you are. So I suddenly realized just over the last few weeks that I had never embodied my true essence on earth. And they say that after 900 lives, they stop counting. So I've never been fully Helena or Helena. I've always been some version that I was reading that was being actually projected from someone else to please them, whether it's a husband, a mother, a father, a teacher. So
Yeah.
I was always psychically reading it and adapting to it. And now's the time, and that should scare you. Because that is separating from your essence, actually.
Mhm.
So in moments perhaps where maybe you should have said, no, this isn't right, this, I don't agree with that. Um, this true evaluation of who you are
Mhm.
internally, who you truly are, is one of the biggest steps. Who said it? To thine own self be true.
Yes.
It's the oldest adage on earth, and yet we don't really practice it.
Yeah.
We
And
have
that's
separated from our truth.
yeah. And that's why they've called it the great work, because it is the most intense thing we will ever do, right? Is to
Absolutely.
unwind from all of those programs that we have adapted ourselves to feel safe or comfortable. As you were speaking of how the sound frequencies come in and they can bypass the defense mechanisms of the protection or the control or whatever we've set up to feel safe. And as I feel all of those are deconstructing right now, it's such a massive deconstruction. And with that brings more of the unknown, because it's like, what's on the other side of that? Right. And so that's when we can step into that presence of the self and that love and say, okay, I love myself enough. I can be present with myself enough to acknowledge that I feel uncomfortable, or to acknowledge that I'm feeling fearful, or acknowledge that I'm feeling scared to shift that pattern, because what will it do to that relationship, to my husband, to my children, to whatever it is, right? Because there's those moments of deep shift that we don't know who we're going to be when we don't know who we are, because we haven't been ourselves, right? And so that's when we get to start going, okay, I'm noticing this. I'm noticing this. And that's when it supports us too, listen to the sound frequencies that can support, or, have the support from somebody else like myself or Helena, who can support us in coming into our bodies and recognizing those programs and helping us shift those programs, or just being very diligent. Like I'm communicating with myself a lot throughout the day. Oh, I'm noticing that thought. Oh, I'm noticing how I kind of want to go in that direction, but really what I'm feeling is to go in this direction. And what would be the most useful, beneficial? Because I think what a lot of people don't recognize is that when we truly are in our own, if the words that are people are, the words we use, empowerment or sovereignty or self-knowing, when we're moving from that place, even though it may not seem beneficial to everyone else around us, because we're shifting the dynamic, it's the most beneficial thing we can do, because it also supports everyone else around us to choose their alignment,
That's
and it
very true.
automatically harmonizes the field in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. That since this has been a rare behavior, actually humans are very brilliant. And the job of the human is to figure out your unique zone of genius
Mhm.
in the present moment, not like in the
Yeah.
future.
Right. In the moment.
You know,
It's only about the now, right now.
you only want to do this current. And so when these impressions are coming in, I guess a discernment becomes the most important thing, because you're going to get this feeling when you're in or out of alignment. And so, and also what is truly important in the reality now is what I find myself, I keep asking, what actually matters here? And I actually find not that much, but strangely, it's strange. I
That's
thought,
the funny part of all this, right?
so this
Oh.
could be a crisis, but it's not really that important. We just have to deal with it. So
Mhm.
the key is to be comfortable, to become comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
You see, when you're comfortable, and most people aren't,
Yeah.
when you're comfortable in your own skin, you will sort of start, first of all, your chakras will always be telling you. They're information centers. So as long, like with the sound is constantly working on spinning your chakras in a clockwise way. When someone's suicidal, for example, your chakras are going to spin counterclockwise, which is why the sound will stop a suicidal attempt. So it's about how your chakras are spinning, because that's what connects you into the reality. Sadly, we don't get taught that in school, and they think it's woo-woo, but actually it's truth. So when you do become aware, first of all, it's very joyful.
Yeah.
You're actually the most important person in your universe. Everything's reflecting you.
Yes.
So the paradox is how people try so hard to be everything other than who they are. It's so paradoxical
Yeah.
that they carve a path to it.
Yeah.
So here's the tragedy, is that when, and I used to see it like everybody wants to be like, I'm going to use a bad example, but Kim Kardashian or some
Right.
weird celebrity, right?
Right. Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with who you are
Yeah.
and what you're here to teach and be. Do you really want to teach that?
Yeah.
Look at it objectively. Is that what you want to teach? So it is true that it is in the modeling, and in the word that I would use here is in the embodiment of this new energy. This is where everyone really learns, and where people come to us because they see we're embodying it. And we figured out the tools. Like, it's really simple. I've just cleared the field.
Yeah.
I brought the field into me, right?
Yeah.
So it's that simple. Actually, it's a way of walking to our truth, but it is embodying the new energy and then feeling into when something doesn't feel right. And I know Dispenza says, be careful when something doesn't feel right, because that could be that you're out of your comfort zone. So I know he says that, but this is teaching at another level. This is teaching when we are releasing the patterns that are controlling. And I've learned one thing. I am starting to think that there's one dominant, and this is something I'm either going to decide is true or not, but there are sometimes a dominant pattern that's a huge blind spot. So I can give the example that, people obviously see me as a therapist and a healer, and I've been a prophet, and I'm intuitive and a psychic. What we didn't see, and what was completely hidden, was that I'd also, in incarnations, been a sex slave. I didn't see that for the first part of the incarnation. And when you start to see that, because that means you were abused and used pretty intensely, there's a huge wound that is carried through. And I'm starting to realize it is, it has been the way the patriarchy has controlled a lot of women on the planet, especially the very powerful women. So by abducting, and so I want people to become aware that some of the programming I have just is buried deeply into the psyche and will be released when you're ready, not before, though.
Absolutely.
I feel like you want to say something about that. I just saw you get triggered. So what? Yeah. So did you want to?
No, go ahead. If you
Yeah.
have to finish your.
I'm finished. It's just an
Okay.
awakening.
Yeah, it is, because I feel that uh with our, what we consider our blind spots, the what really supports us in coming into that awareness is the willingness to come into more self-love and presence. And the
Absolutely.
more that we deepen that connection to ourselves, the more those blind spots will arise and present themselves to us, and that's where we really have to hold our space and our presence and say, oh, that's been a part of my reality. That's been a part of my, and instead of being fearful or in opposition, like, oh, I don't want to look at that, or I don't want to, welcoming those things in, as uncomfortable as they can feel,
Mm,
to say, okay, wow, what information is this for me to connect into? What information will this support me in being more myself? Because maybe a lot of those mechanisms, protection mechanisms, or control, or self-doubt, or disempowerment, or the unworthiness, or all the different things that we have, embodied and acted through. Maybe
mm,
this is a major piece for me to recognize that will support me in becoming more myself.
exactly.
Because that's that space that you were speaking of, is like, yes, there's a difference between the discomfort of being out of our comfort zone and the discomfort of something that just isn't in alignment with our truth, right? So it's almost like, how do we discern an energy coming in or something coming from within us that isn't our align, really isn't true to our heart, right? Really isn't true to our heart. Or where are we really, stepping off the edge, to do something different, to create something different, to feel, be, and embody something different. There's a real big difference. And so that's where we get to tune into our hearts and breathe into our bodies and say, oh, okay, what is this discomfort really? Is it just fear because I'm choosing something different, and it's discomfort? Or is it, oh, yeah, there's something that I'm choosing, or something that somebody's saying to me that doesn't feel in alignment? And that's where we get to learn, as we were doing in the beginning, that energy, really tuning into our energy and noticing where we have those different energy nudges within us,
Yeah.
that's showing us our truth or showing us our untruth. And it's this communication, it's just information, and learning to navigate these knowings and saying yes to, even though it's uncomfortable and I know it's my truth, I'm going to go over, I'm going to I'm going to keep stepping forward, keep stepping into the unknown, keep moving through, and saying yes to the discomfort, saying that this discomfort is going to lead me to a grander, more embodied, more fulfilled, just like we were speaking earlier, more satisfied experience of myself. And it's going to grow our strength. It's going to grow that inner power, that inner courage, that inner knowing to keep moving forward. And that will also support us in knowing when something is unaligned, because it doesn't light us up.
Ah, I love that. It just doesn't. I love that. Thank you. It just doesn't light us up. It almost more makes the energy murkier.
Yeah, I was feeling like
That,
that cringe, or that, like, ooh, like we just want to, like, get away from it, which is different from that fear of stepping into something that's just going over edge, because that's more like, ooh, like, how am I going to do that,
so and I just got shown this one thing. It's like if you visualize the human instead of like as this body that we get so fixated on,
Yeah.
um, as like a human that has a body, but it also has like, first of all, 100 billion neurons in the brain, each with between 10 and 30,000 neuronal connections.
Mhm.
You're the richest person in the world. I mean,
Yes.
unbelievable real estate. You own it outright.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
celebrate that.
And
But
that, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I got excited. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
so when this starts, when you visualize these antennas that are looking for information all the time, you want to look for the highest quality coherent information. The problem is we're often picking up the signals from the culture. If you watch, let's say you're watching news, and pick the wrong information. But I was also just shown this timeline, Kristen, where, it's like even in my own journey, I'd focused on certain parts of the timeline. Now, I do know now that the gurus that was around, they knew the whole timeline.
Yes.
And that was when they were kind of like, nope, you can't do it. You know, now it was like a puzzle. When I
Mhm.
put this one piece into the puzzle, everything made sense.
Mhm.
That's the journey that it's so much fun in a way
It is.
that
Yeah.
it's like when that missing piece comes in and there's no blame, there's no guilt, you've just been evolving through human history.
Yeah.
So but honestly, that one piece that's in the blind spot, when that gets pulled out or you become aware of it, it's very freeing, as I was going to say.
It's very liberating. And what I got excited about, and I love that what you're saying about the richness of the capacity that we have with our neural network, this connection of through information. And what you were speaking to earlier was choice. And what I find that was really coming through is, something that I share a lot is that neutral space of the non-judgment. If we can really come into that clear space where we are in our body and we're saying, okay, I'm willing to look at this without judging it, whether it's something within ourselves or it's something that we're experiencing that's in the external. And that's where I feel that we come into presence and we come into embodying pure love, because we're choosing not to judge it. We're choosing to just see it, feel it, experience it as information. And then we get to go, how do I want to choose to be with this information? And right there, we bring in so much power. We have access to so much more clarity and experience when we're willing to step into that space.
Oh, I love that. Wouldn't it be cool if kids go to school and they go, how am I choosing to use this information? I don't think I'm going to take that history test. First of all, history's been distorted. That would be so cool. Living, that's the future of Earth. And the students go,
Yeah.
came in to be a flautist, not, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because then we can be in that self-organizing experience
Girl.
where we're choosing, just like you were speaking to, and that I actually sent out an email today that was saying that we're in that space where everything that we choose, which has always been the case, but everything that we choose is creating the next experience of our reality, because
Mm,
it's arranging the geometry. Just like you work with the sound frequencies and vibrations, all those vibrations are coming in and creating a new frequency, a new geometry of how our cells are arranging, of how our experience is arranging, and the thought patterns are arranging themselves, and so these choices are consistently creating a vibration that are arranging our reality.
mm.
And so that space within that's always willing to choose, and then also recognizing there's never a wrong choice because we always can choose again. We're
Yeah,
always choosing.
we can always repeat the same stuff over and over again. That's obviously the choice we've been making for a few thousand years.
Yeah.
So there's no fear in it. It's evolution can be gentle, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And presence is what you're teaching here, Kristen, is the most important thing. We've got to become present, almost more like a warrior going through this next cycle, the next 3 to 5 years. You have to
Yeah.
become very aware of what's being fed to you.
And
So,
that's where I feel that power that you brought in is, how much are we willing to be right here? How much are we willing to be right here? So I really appreciate you bringing that in, because if we even just do that, if we're willing to just even do that throughout the day, if we can, wherever we are, and like, okay, wait, bring my presence in. It's a great physical way to bring that in. And I'm with you. I feel that this patterning that we're creating is like, ooh, this trajectory of these next few years, just like we keep going through these segments of 3 years, it feels like there's these segments of, and after this past 3 years, now we're like, we're flying off again, and like really exponential quantum growth right now. And so,
oh, 3 years is very, very well. And just for those in the audience, is that if you do desire to connect with who you are, the quantum field and your Akashic records, you just have to go like this.
yeah,
You actually form a connection just doing that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if you want, so when I work with groups online and then I open it so I can see and then I close it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can feel the difference. In
Yeah.
one, you're here, and the other, you've gone out, you've like splatted out the energy to see
You've
what's.
expanded, yeah, into the greater field of information, the collective field, or like you say, the Akashic, the soul records. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Wow. I really feel that we've moved through a powerful field of information today, Helena, and brought people into a space where they can really start to tangibly, work with their energy, tangibly work and have some good tools to move forward with. So that intention that you created at the beginning, connecting into the purpose or power, the pathway. Thank you. Mhm.
Connect to the field and find your future. I like that. I'll write that down. Yeah, you can find it. You can create a new future, and this is where
Mhm.
it's very simple, really.
Mhm.
But it does require this consciousness that Kristen's
Yes.
teaching in this summit, that you need to be present to connect
Mhm.
to the field.
Mhm.
That's you can't be in the past or the future,
Yeah.
but the field will connect you into your future self,
Mhm.
and you can design your future self in the field.
Yeah.
And that's a power of humans.
Yeah. We're mutable. We're transform, there's no staticness in us whatsoever. It feels that way sometimes, like, oh, I can't move through this, or I can't why is everything just still structured the same or feeling the same way? It's like, well, sometimes it just takes that persistent effort, just like exercising and building muscle. It's like it's a consistent effort to see the results, right? And so
Yeah.
staying in that consistent present effort of intention, of focus, of connection, and also that freedom, like doing what's joyful, that frees up a lot of energy too. What
Oh,
feels good,
yeah.
what feels good? Let's laugh, let's play,
The
and let the rest of this
yes,
happen.
absolutely. The expression of joy and gratitude is also the
Mhm.
way that opens the future in a really different way, really
Yeah.
different, which is why we keep teaching to get out of the fear, because in fear you can't create. And also you draw to you more of the same in
Yeah.
fear. And so the gateway out of the fear is the frontal lobe, gamma brainwave frequencies, alpha, theta. Get out of that fear trajectory, humming, and move into quantum creatorship, because that's where the planet's moving. You want to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah. And so in that presence, when we're grateful for what we have in the presence, so I know, like, even being grateful for that little bit of shift that we've noticed, celebrating, oh, wow, I'm noticing I'm doing this differently or feeling this differently, or I have these things in my life that are supporting me on whatever level they are. Having that gratitude and joy for those things grows those things.
Absolutely. And you think a lot about what you have in your life that's really supporting you.
Yeah.
Bring more of that into
Yeah.
your essence and into your heart, so that you become a coherent creator.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
it's the challenge, but it's a great joy.
It is.
Doing walking this walk is a great joy. And now it's open to everyone, I think, because we're able to communicate. And these events, like what Kristen is taking time out of her busy schedule to host, these are paving the pathway and your neural pathways. You can't listen to these conversations without carving out
Mhm.
from the 100 billion neurons and the 10 to 30,000 connections. You're carving out many new neuronal connections. So
Yeah.
even if you think you aren't, you are. There's
Oh,
that. You
yeah.
are you are changing your consciousness just by listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Well,
incredible.
it is incredible. So thank you all here who have been listening and allowing and receiving, and may it support you in the transformation of your life and in every way that's aligned for you. And Helena, thank you so much for your wisdom and your grace and your presence. And I'd love to hear the free gift that you're going to be sharing with everyone here.
Yes, so we're going to share some of the soundtracks to shift. So I believe we're sharing a version of the clearing soundtrack, um, the Raise Your Frequency soundtrack, and a Vitality soundtrack. And these will reset you each day. If you listen, they're just a couple of minutes long, but they can reset your energy body, your energy frequency, so that things come a little more easily, the clarity. And we're also giving some chapters to the book. I believe it's the Quantum Sound Miracle IQ book, and a link to one of our master classes. So consume whatever you enjoy, and pay attention to Kristen. She's a great thought leader. So she's a mystic and a thought leader. So thank you for having us. We really appreciate these opportunities to integrate the information in new ways.
Yeah, so much, so much. We are, and just the connection that we have together I'm really grateful for your friendship too, and everything that we're doing. So thank you. So thank you everyone for being here. Please click that free gift link so you can experience these amazing frequencies, the information that Helena is sharing with us. And may you go forth in your day with deep presence and pure love and joy and grace in everything that you do. Thank you so much for being here. Love you all.